we got that out, there's gonna be a lot of people watching this like, what they say? What?
They what? They talked about that.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice.
Homophobia, what? A vagina is on my face? What? You know what? Men are gonna be like, if a vagina is on my face, what are you saying about my face? I don't have a vagina.
Welcome to Chick Flicks, a vlogcast created by women, made to empower you.
Okay, we gotta be goddess. We gotta be goddesses. Okay, we gotta be goddess.
All right. Girl, I was like, what is going on? I'm starting shirt. I'm sitting there just fussing at the.
Oh my God, we look so good, girl. We look.
I'm telling you, honey. I'm telling you, honey. They ain't ready. We ready.
We ready, but they ain't ready. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so glad to see you again. We always kick it, right? You're my homegirl. We always kicking it anyway. That's why we had to finally come together and do this show, because it's just been really great getting to know you, even though we haven't even met yet IRL. I just feel like we have such a great connection virtually, and you're just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and just heart and soul, and I had to have you on the show because of that. Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for our guest today?
Well, it is. I am Phylicia. I am a full spectrum doula. I'm also finishing up childbirth educator as well. And I enjoy life, and I have 1,000,001 gifts, and I try to operate in all of them while flowing effortlessly. So that's
I like that. Yeah, trying to operate in all of them while just going with the flow at the same time. It's definitely a skill and a balance, something to harness for sure. So yeah, you've been practicing doula for well over 19 years, going on 20 years, but you just recently got your full spectrum certification, official certification. So congratulations on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. When's the last baby you delivered? And what was that experience like?
Well, after COVID, things got a little crazy.
Right.
So, my last birthing client was in April. I had to do everything virtually. I coached her through, and it actually ran very smoothly. At this point, we didn't realize that COVID was as bad as it was. So she was like, hey, I feel more comfortable going to the hospital. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I'm getting prepped to go where she is because I travel, So I'm getting prepped to go where she is. She's on the way to the hospital. We know she's not dilating that much because she had an actual appointment, She gets to the hospital and they was like, as of yesterday, we're only allowing one person in this hospital, and that's only the person you come in with. So her birthing partner wasn't even able to be there to witness the birth. And it really was an experience. Like, it was nothing like we thought it would be. And so that was my last birthing experience. I do have clients now, but they have not actually transitioned to the third trimester yet. So
right. So wow, you had a COVID birthing experience then. That's wild. And so you were the only one there for her. And it's so crazy because you really see the importance of doulaship when it comes to these matters, because if the only person that was allowed to be there was just the one person, then maybe it would have just been someone who was just a friend or a spouse who doesn't know anything about giving birth and couldn't really be as much help to, you know, you as someone who's giving birth that you need someone to be. So that would have been really scary.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you want your loved ones to be there for moral support, but you also want to make sure you have someone there that's really qualified to usher in this life the way it's supposed to be. And we can't always leave that to the doctors and the hospital,
That part. And
because
then
a
too,
lot of times we're just another number.
yeah, and we're more of a quiet advocate. Once we cross in the doors of a hospital, we really have to be more silenced to a certain extent, because we're not healthcare providers. We're more of a companion. So we're a companion whether you're giving birth, whether you're having an abortion, whether
Right.
you're transitioning, to the next life. No matter what it is we're doing with you, we're just a companion. We're not considered a healthcare provider. We're just only considered a birth worker. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
So when you
once
talk about like death, you're talking about like being a death doula, which is something different, but it still has to do with the coming in and coming out of life.
right,
Life.
right.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to prep for all of that. Like, you really have to deal with your own traumas, because I don't want to not heal from different things that have happened to me and allow someone to take that into another lifetime while I'm sitting there holding their hand, or you know bring another baby in and they touch my hands, and I'm going through that. So
Wow.
it's something that we really have to take seriously. It's not something that you really just say, well, this is what I'm doing. Like, it's a very spiritual,
Yeah.
um
And the
it's
doula takes that into consideration.
mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Not everybody's, taking these things into consideration. And we know that infants, anyone who's had a child and took that baby home with themselves from their body, knows how intense this spiritual connection is. And that non-verbal ethereal connection is very real.
It
It's very
is.
tangible. It's very thick. And there's no denying it. And so the doula is the one who represents that and says, hey, it's kind of like you're the manifestation of that ethereal, like, relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's like the people who are in tune with the universe in that way, or in tune with the infinite, they really don't want to deal with it, acknowledge it. Those people, it's like they need you there as a representation for that soul to be like, yeah, but I'm here, so respect me at least. I know you're not going to respect like the unknown or the unseen, but I'm here, you can see me. So
Right.
you said that quiet, I like how you put that,
Yeah.
that quiet advocate.
It's I see it more as a companion, you know, because it's an intimate experience, no matter which one I'm operating in. It's
Yeah.
very, very intimate. And so that's why when I consultation with someone, I listen. Not more so speaking, because sometimes we just talk, 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 talk. And I'm a talker. So but in those consultations, I listen to what the client wants, because the truth of the matter is, whether they're sitting there talking to their OB or they're sitting there talking to their general doctor that's telling them whatever, um, nobody's really listening. They're just telling them what's in a textbook, you
Yeah,
know. And
unfortunately.
it's back to me, being a doula takes me back to my roots, you know, where we really were going around to houses and helping people transition. I found out so much, you know, all the way down to the gifts of singing came from one part. Like it was literally my grandmother and all of her siblings, and their dad was the one that was over the music. And then I wondered where my gift of being a seer came from, and that came from her mother's side of the family. So it's like, you know, once you start really researching, and it's so cool because when you find, say for instance, you say, okay, I'm going to search my mom, and then you got to remember your mom got a mom and a daddy. So that's 4 different sides you got to search now.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets deeper and
it
deeper
does.
and deeper.
And you know how you said it made you remember, like it made you find out, like, oh well, this is where this part of me comes from, and this is where this part of me comes from. And that is what is so important about finding your heritage, in my opinion. Finding your heritage and your lineage, why it's so important to know who your tribe really is. I don't care where you come from, because it helps solidify your self-esteem and your identity, especially because you may be very different than anyone else in your immediate family, because there's things, because they say like things skip a generation, right?
Right.
So it's like you're going to be very unique in your immediate family as to your sister and your brother, and you're all going to be like unique. And that's why we have always these stories about people saying, you know, so and so is you and your brother and your sister are so different, you know, or you and your sister are so different. It's like, yeah, because we're taking on these different traits in our lineage, and if we knew where we came from, we could be proud of those traits instead of like alienating each other or ourselves. We could feel proud about ourselves and proud about our cultures. That's why cultures that know and keep a lot of their customs and traditions have pride, like Italian pride, Irish pride. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're trying to get our Black pride, but we don't even really know our heritage, and so it's kind of like a sad pride. It's a little bit sappy and sad. Yeah, and there's all this infighting. And it's the same way with the tribes, with indigenous people. There's so much infighting because of it.
What's happened to you and your family?
So back in February 2012, the council decided to take a look into our paperwork. One of our cousins was trying to enroll their nieces and nephews or their children, and the enrollment officer denied it. And so it was brought to the council table asking whether or not, why they're denying the enrollment when all of our family's been enrolled. And that kind of opened the door for the council to look into other paperwork within our family when they should not have.
What was behind that, Michelle? Do you know?
There has been always a long-time family feud in Nooksack, and it just stems from that.
So when you're being asked to prove that you really do deserve to be part of the tribe, what was the evidence that you came up with?
We came up with basically, you know, my grandmother telling us that we were. We have paperwork from, like I said, the archdiocese, the Oblate records, censuses that show where Madeline and Annie lived in the same household. We actually reached out to anthropologists, Bruce Graham Miller from UBC and Jay Miller from University of Washington. We looked at the...
But like, but to speak to like the pride of like who you are and your culture and your customs and what you come from, and really knowing who you are, and not have like Black pride, I feel like with the Pan-African flag, it's like this melting pot of a flag. So, you know, Africa is large, it's freaking huge. It has so many different traditions and sects, and, you know, all these different tribes, all these different rituals, that it's like, but which one is mine? Because they're all so different. They're all so different. I want to know specifically who mine is, because in that I might find things that are about me of value, and I'm like, wow, along, you know, and that does something to the human psyche.
And you know what I try
metaphysically speaking.
I try to, when I'm reading something, I try to use discernment, and I'll be like, okay, if it's for me, I'm going to resonate with it. And it's a difference in between resonating with something and feeling like I know this, but I don't know this, but I know this. You know what you know that feeling?
Yeah,
So
resonating versus like wanting to resonate with it versus truly resonating with it. Because sometimes you could just like,
it's like it's embedded in
there's a
your
huge
DNA.
difference. Yes, there's a huge.
It's embedded in your DNA. So like when you read on something, you be like, da, 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 that sounds familiar.
Too familiar, eerily familiar. Yeah.
So it's like
Those drums feel a little too good. What's
yes,
going on? Yes.
it
Those
makes you
drums
feel
are making me have an outer body experience. Why is that? Not those drums, but these drums. What is that?
Not that dance, but this dance.
Yes. There's a difference.
Know? So it's like you feel different things, and then when you resonate when I'm on a whole nother level, you feel the elevation. You feel it. And you be like, okay, so this is my tribe. But then we wonder at the same time, like you said, Africa is so big.
So big.
And the same way I was saying, you know, when you have a mother and a father, that's 4 different tribes possibly that you could be a part of. Like once you dig deeper and deeper, you know, because they traveled to see the woman, or you know, that they fell in love with, or that they saw one time and said, hey, I want her.
Tell me about it. So that's the whole thing where, and we did go off on a tangent here, but I like where we're segueing into, because there's some questions that I'm like dying to ask you. But that's when we get into like the DNA testing and the faulty results because of migration and traveling. So we'll have like, you know, what would appear to be a bloodline on this coast of Africa or that coast of Africa, but it's only because the way that they did their statistics and the way that they gather their data is not based in, you know what I mean? Like it's not sound logic, because they're not accounting for, did they travel from south or north or that to get here? And you're taking the blood samples from all these people who are in this region right now, but where did their peoples come from?
Where did they come from?
Right. Yeah. And so there's this whole thing that I've been getting into and learning, where it's like, even when you get your DNA results, like it may not be that accurate, and this is why. And there's so many different types of DNA testing. There's even ones for free, because they use it for beta testing to try to, you know, hone in and do better research and stuff. But then there's also like some DNA testing facilities that do some shady shit. So I mean, it run deepest. Yeah, it really does. I don't know. Let's go back a little bit to like your doulaship and everything that you do with that, and hospitals kind of doing people dirty, especially during COVID. Like hospitals were already kind of messing with people, you know. It's one of those things where it's like, who's the bad guy here? Is it the pharmaceuticals, or is it the doctors, or the Hippocratic oath is for bullshit, you know? What is it?
Before COVID was medical negligence. Okay. And with the medical negligence, they already were using in the most doctored textbook that they have in school, they automatically individualize each ethnicity and say, okay, well, Black people can take this much pain, and Mexican people can take this, and Indian people can take this. And you know what I'm saying? Like they separate everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, so once COVID hit, it was like, okay, she's gonna give birth, but once she gives birth, depending on the hospital, they didn't even do skin to skin. My client wasn't allowed to do skin to skin.
Are you serious?
Yes.
No.
She had to test for COVID before she saw her baby again.
Okay, just for the audience, explain to them what skin to skin is, because I don't think everybody.
Skin to skin is right after you have your baby, and you are more than likely just chest naked, and your child doesn't have on any clothes either, and they're able to lay their head on your chest, whether it's you or the birthing partner. They can lay their head and feel your heartbeat.
Yep.
You know, that is a life force.
Yes.
When a baby is being birthed, to immediately go skin to skin, that actually
Yes.
helps the child to produce the nutrients, and all. It gets the blood flowing.
Yes.
It gets them.
Brain activity.
Yes, it gets them used to this new environment because they've been sitting inside of a sack that's been keeping them safe. All of this is new. You know what I'm saying? So skin to skin is very important. So
Super
especially when they
important.
come out and they lay on the
Yeah.
chest of either the birthing parent or the birthing partner.
It's like a step that you cannot skip.
You can't.
It's like trying to give a baby cow's milk instead of breast milk or formula. Like
Right.
you just cannot do that. Like you will
Yeah.
mess the child up. It's like not hugging a baby or touching a baby. And what's that experiment where they kept it in a room? The experiment where they seen whether or not you should actually touch. Like what would happen if you didn't touch a child? Like if you gave a baby no attention, no affection, no touch, but you fed them and you clothed them and you kept them warm, but you didn't touch them, the baby died within a few, like I think months or weeks. That's a real experiment done. You can look that up in the textbooks. So it's like, yeah, like skin to skin is mad important. And I can't believe that since COVID, that's a thing. But what else
Yeah.
has been happening since COVID? And I don't know, I'm pretty sure that you're aware of it actually. And I wanted to get your take on this. But there was a Black woman who died in the
Yes,
hospital.
it's a good amount of them
Actually,
actually.
several. I
Yeah.
couldn't keep up. Okay, because this is what I wanted to know. I said, is it just me or is this a different one?
Yeah.
Because I
There
couldn't
was
believe it.
one girl, she was a YouTuber. Before her, it was a girl, her last name was Washington. She was in New York. It was like 3 girls in New York, like within the same week. It was like when COVID happened, the deaths went up even more. But
Like
that's
the morbidity rate.
right now, last time I checked, and this is the gag with that.
Okay.
The gag with that is you never can get an accurate number. Okay.
Okay.
You can check for one
Of
state,
course.
and they might say, well, we haven't tested since 2018. You could check with another state and they say, oh, we haven't tested since 2019. And you could check another state and they say, oh, we checked in 2017. And some states have actually gotten into trouble because they're not testing the right way. The numbers are incorrect because if we just be realistic, the Black mortality rate in America alone is higher than any other race, any other. So at a percentage where it would be, I think last time I checked, it was like a 67% for Blacks. And whites were like at a 30-something%. Maternal deaths.
Maternal deaths. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So maternal deaths are like, whoa, that's a huge like difference in numbers.
That's why I encourage people, even if they're not into birth work like that, I encourage them to check what the Black maternal death rate is in their state, because I'm from Georgia. Well, I was born in Florida, but I was raised in Georgia, and I checked the numbers for Georgia, and I was like, okay, that's not as bad as I thought, but it's still bad. And I'm in Alabama now, and Alabama, last time I checked, was the 3rd highest state in the United States. for.
And Alabama had some of the worst slavery.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? To be
And
honest
they
with you,
treat black people some of the worst down there current days.
Mississippi is actually worse.
Yes, Mississippi right there with it. Yep, even worse. That's right.
Yeah, Mississippi is.
That's where Oprah grew up, right?
I don't know. I don't really dig Oprah like that.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I think I think she was. I know she was from the South for sure.
Yeah.
But exactly where, I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
But
she speaks to how bad it was out there. She whistleblowed. She does whistleblowing on all that.
yeah, and it's still they're doing great. They're doing a lot better. It's a lot of black politicians that are there that just got into the seats last year.
Yeah.
And they're making some major moves in Mississippi. Like
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been making some major moves. Like I've been looking at Mississippi and I'm like, in the background, like, come on, y'all, come on,
Good. Because it's the worst to see skin folk that ain't kinfolk, that are just there to be puppets for the white people. That's the worst. It feels like, it was already bad enough that they were all white, but now you got one of us in there and they're cooning and making us all look bad. Like, oh, man.
And, I think a lot of times they have the right intent in the beginning. But
then they get in that meeting.
They get them meetings, okay?
They get in that meeting.
And them numbers start getting slid across the table, and they're like, yo, I get you this, and you can get this, and your family can get this. And then you start thinking to myself, hey,
just play by the rules, man.
Right.
We'll keep you safe, warm, and fed.
They've given us a better understanding of the words sellout. Like literally. Cause long as they feel like they people safe, then they like, hey, I'm good. But
so sad.
Yeah, so the black maternal death rates are crazy. And
especially during COVID, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we won't know till like next year or a couple of years.
Yeah, they're probably ignoring the numbers right now. And it's crazy because a lot of states don't count miscarriages that black women are dying from. They're not counting being pregnant. Some of them are not counting when they're pregnant and they're dying. And some of them aren't counting if they give birth and then they die.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know the state that I'm in, they were only counting if they died and the baby was still inside of them.
Right.
Only. So they weren't even counting the miscarriages and deaths or the births and deaths. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they picking and choosing what they really want to,
How
and and there are a lot of Indian tribes here in Alabama. Like a lot. Because we have the casinos and all of that here. And
that's all our babies down there from slavery. Yep.
So I'm just like, I don't want to leave from where I am because of the need. They actually it's been 2.5 years that doulas became legal here. We were illegal, okay?
Wow. When they say the South is like 10 years back, they really mean that.
For a lot of things.
Damn.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, they 10 years back as far as having it on paper, because if you go back and look at the roots of these people here, they literally had women that were going to the homes and delivering babies. That's how the slaves had their children.
Right.
It was a woman that came in when she knew it was almost time.
Yeah.
And She put the towel in her mouth. You know what I'm saying? She wet the hot rags in that little shed, and she helped nurse that baby here. She helped assist that baby to come here. And so it's like, when I look at it now, it's not the same because the conditions are better and we can set up the scenery better. But why wouldn't you want to welcome your baby around people that they know? Why would you allow your baby to come out and look at a face of a doctor that ain't never really heard their voice, except like maybe 10, 12 times when you went to the doctor?
Oh, that's deep.
When you wanted to be your birth partner?
That's deep.
When you wanted to be your mother or the sibling that they see first?
Deep.
Why would you bring them into the world and they got all these bright lights? They've been inside of your womb. They're not used to those lights. Dim those lights, you know. Bring them in.
What is it that you need to possibly see that bad when the baby's coming out? It's such a natural process. There's nothing up in my womb. There's nothing up in my womb ever. Nothing. You can turn on the lights and inspect later after the baby comes out.
This is the thing.
Like, I know that you have to look out for ripping, tearing, you know, maybe a broken bone, a laceration or something like that. I get that. Trust me, I get that. But come on.
I mean, honestly, all of those things come when you laying down.
Yeah.
You know, and the concept of laying down came from a European king that had a fetish for watching women give birth. So look, think about it.
Say it again.
Okay.
One more time. For the people in the back.
Of women laying down to give birth came from a king.
Which is an unnatural position.
Yes. It came from a king that had a fetish for seeing women give birth. Okay. So if you remember, if you ever look on the side, the walls, they had the scribes and different things on them. The women were standing and the babies were coming out. Their legs were bent. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this particular king, he would see them give birth like this, but he couldn't really see nothing. So he was like, start making them lay down. And that practice began to migrate over into the United States. And that is why we have really been moving in the energy of somebody that just had a fetish for watching a child come out of a vagina.
So what you're telling me is that this is a fetish, and it's an underground fetish, because once a fetish, always a fetish. It ain't like, oh, okay, only this king had this weird thing and nobody else in the history of man. So what you mean to tell me is that some of these doctors giving birth to babies possibly have fetishes. Just like recently, I'm not sure where I seen this, but it was in one of my private groups. One of the women had talked about she had came while getting a pap smear, and her doctor had put his fingers in her with no gloves.
What?
This was a few weeks ago, and all of us women were up there like, malpractice, he did that he has a fetish, no, like all kinds of medical professionals were up there.
Once you go into those offices, which is the same thing with the hospital, you sign so much paperwork.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can really say if it happens. And before I forget, his name was oh Jesus, it lost me again. King Louis XIV of France.
Of France.
Yeah, King Louis XIV. But
wow.
I think about when we go and we get our annuals. Do we really think about how brutal that is? How violated we allow them to treat our bodies, when in reality, they don't really have to stick this contraption inside of our bodies and turn it around and let it open our bodies so they can scrape our cervix. None of this is actually necessary. Do you know that the fallopian tubes and the whole reproduction section can be checked from the outside?
No.
Yeah.
Like, so you can check for cancer cells on the outside.
You can check for fibroids, cysts, all of this stuff from the outside of your body.
You mean what, palpitations for fibroids and cysts? Because you can feel for bumps and, like, you know.
You can feel for all of that. It's a certain way that you can feel.
But the scraping is for cancer.
Yeah, it is. But how we know what they scraping us with and giving us what they say we have?
Ugh, it just sucks. It really does. I was thinking a lot too about what is the duckbill thing?
The what now?
The duckbill thing that they stick in you and then they crank it open.
Oh, girl.
I forget what that's called. But
yeah, every time I think about it, it is
trauma.
I feel violated.
Yeah.
Every time they use that utensil, I feel so violated. I'm not a vehicle.
Yeah, it's like crank.
Yeah, like you're really putting this in me and turning like you're finna change
you up.
a tire.
Yes. Yeah.
It's girl.
So strange.
I've had a very bad a few bad experiences at the OBGYN. So it's like certain things are still very touchy. I try not to lay them on my clients, but me and OBs and their weirdness.
It feels a little archaic, like medieval. Especially when we describe it in this way. Because it's like, you would think that, especially with technology the way that it is, that they could stop doing it that way. Like, you don't really need to scrape to get that amount of cells. You can actually get a lot of cells just with a cotton swab. So you would just think like a lot of it's like very archaic, that you actually don't need to crank it open. You can just stick a swab in there if you need to, and, you know, get with a soft tip. It doesn't need to be that hard. That is interesting.
It doesn't matter how big a woman is, her cervix is only so far inside of the body.
Right. And it's you're gonna hit it. You're gonna hit the wall, like, bam, it's there. Like,
yeah, like if you're not
gonna get lost in there. There's nothing else going on.
I'm telling you, you're gonna hit a wall. This is and then you gotta think that a woman's body opens up during sex. So of course she feels bigger during sex, but if she's not actually aroused, it's easier for you to get to her cervix.
Yeah.
So what do you need all this stuff for?
You know what's interesting is our ability to close the vagina tunnel. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
It's
literally our mouth.
That is amazing. Like, it can actually just clamp shut. Like, nope. Like, no entre.
It's really, you know, I take the words as above, so below, so literal.
And I don't mean Kegels either. Like, I don't mean actually making it close yourself with a Kegel. I mean, like, it'll just, like, shut.
Like, yeah,
like a
uncontrollably.
Like
sometimes you wanted to open up and you be like, what you doing?
Exactly. And it's like, I had enough. It's like a muscle spasm or something.
Okay. You finna slow it all the way down. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a muscle spasm. That's interesting.
But it's so cool how the body is, because
really,
like I said, as above, so below. If you think about what our body looks like, it looks like our face. So you got your ovaries and your fallopian tubes, which look just like your eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
if you take your eyes, if you take your eyes, if you look in the back of your eyes, they have the muscles and the tendons, and it looks just like the fallopian tubes. Your uterus, your cervix, all of that looks just like your nose. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having two holes, it just has one. But it literally looks the same as your nostril. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
And then if you keep going down, that's the vagina area. What? Your vagina has what? Lips.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. I never looked at it like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are very symmetrical beings, which is so cool. Yeah.
And I think a lot of things are more simple than what we have been taught that they are.
Hmm.
You know, it's amazing how years, many thousands of years ago, they were able to tell what the weather was going to be, and what time of day it was, what season it was, all by the stars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
know, and we got away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But look where we at in 2020. We back to it.
Yeah, we're back to it. And also, like, we moved, the graduation was like from following nature and respecting nature to pillage and destroy, and that's a whole other topic for another day. But and then it became, now we're going to manufacture the weather. So now we're going to force the weather to do what we want it to do with these machines. Go look it up.
Which was stupid.
Harvard
That was
study,
so stupid.
Harvard published, HARP. But yeah, and now we just manufacture and engineer weather, and now we have to try to predict what's going to happen. But even without their predictions, and even with all the tools that they made, you can still track what they're doing, because of universal law of how things are set up, what's to come. Yeah, it's interesting.
And it's so crazy how the God complex came in and they started trying to manipulate the weather, and it makes no sense to me, because the earth automatically heals itself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I don't know what came first. I don't know if they tried to do it for crops, to like try to help with crops, or try to help with war, or you know what I mean, or like just to see if they could do it, and then they messed something up, and now we need to have it. You never know. Secret mission. Yeah. So
yeah, like you never know. Like, seriously. But now I think at this point they really they can't cash this check. You know, like the old saying is, you wrote a check that your ass can't cash. I mean, because at this point, Gaia is trying to heal herself. They can't control these hurricanes because the water is hot. And the reason why the water is hot, we become hot with fever when we're trying to heal. So it doesn't matter if the land is cold. If she's trying to heal herself, we had a whole zombie hurricane, which was bananas. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Paulette?
Yes.
Paulette was like insane, like a category 3, I think she was.
You were in the mess of that.
I was in the midst of Sally.
Okay. How did you deal with that? Is everything okay? I mean, what was it like what was the heat of the moment for you of Sally? What was she like?
I've been in
and
the
why
coast.
Why do they have all these Anglo names all of a sudden?
Girl.
It's a lot. I have several questions.
The women are always stronger and more stubborn. You know, like Katrina. They come through, they're more watery, they flood a lot, they move a lot slower. The men like come through, they just come, Michael came through, he did what he was gonna do and went on about his business. Ivan, same thing. Ivan was destructive, but
it went from Latin names and Greek names, right? To like American names. Sally? What is Sally? That's so weird.
Sally.
It was like Paul. It was like Jim. I was like, what is going on? What does it mean? I know this is a hidden message.
It's beyond. Look, it's really beyond me. We had 2 hurricanes coming toward us at one time. One hurricane veered off and hit Texas. Sally was just a tropical storm. Okay. So they was like, it's cool. It's a tropical storm. Nothing to worry about. Da 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 da. Well, 2 weeks prior, we had a hurricane coming anyway. So we had like kind of stocked up for that. But of course, you started eating the snacks up the wine. You know what I'm saying? You getting comfortable. Yeah. So they saying, okay, it's a tropical storm. Tropical storm ain't nothing. Like, I've been here and the wind from a 4 came through, and we just like weathered it and kept going. But the difference in between Sally was a tropical storm, and within hours, like I had never seen anything like this before. Within hours, she went from a tropical storm to a category 1 to a category 2. She was a borderline category 3. I think she was 5 miles away from she was 5 miles per hour away from being a category 3.
Wow.
She was not going 3 miles per hour. We can walk faster than 3 miles per hour. So imagine getting hit with a hurricane that's coming through like this. So before she even hit the coast, we started having flood surges. The wind gust was out of control.
I saw
like
the pictures.
It went from, oh, we're gonna be fine, don't really worry about it, to, oh my God. Like there was no time to evacuate. There was no time to get anything.
Caught y'all slipping.
Girl, it was no time. Like it was no time. And let me tell you something. When I knew it got serious, when Walmart said they was closing at 5 o'clock, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I was like, this. Oh my God. Like when Walmart says they're closing, that's when you know it's for real.
Yeah, because they're not going to miss out on no money.
No. So they closed a day before. That's how bad the wind gusts and the flooding had started to get. So like,
and they're usually the shelter places too. Like they use the Walmarts for shelter. So if the Walmart's closing,
use the Walmarts for shelters. Like they couldn't even do it.
Wow.
Like I said, it came in so fast till we couldn't even prepare. Everybody was like, just buckle down, And so when it came through, it took all the water out of the bay, and a lot of people were sitting in waist high water in their house.
Wow. Did you have to do that?
I did not have to do that. I went a few days without power, but I did not get any flooding because of everything is about zones here. In the zone that I was in, it does not have a high chance of flooding.
Yep.
But good. I'm around a whole lot of trees. Yeah. And gratefully, I was the only house on my block in my subdivision that did not have a tree down.
Wow.
Me and my kids are the youngest on my street. So we got out and we helped our neighbors. Like I was all on my neighbors' roofs, getting tree limbs down, because the trees were breaking and projecting off, and going into people's windows, going on top of the roofs. It was, I've been here, like I said, I've been here almost 7 years, and I have never experienced a hurricane like that before. This is not an area that usually gets hit, but because the hurricane came and the winds were like 110 by the time they reached here, it wouldn't have been so bad if it would have just went on through. But it was sitting on top of us for hours, and if an eye comes through, it sounds like a tornado. You know how a tornado, it sounds like a train? That's really what it sounds like outside. And you just hearing stuff just hitting your windows. It's like you're in a house and you have nowhere to go. And gratefully my kids mainly slept through it for the most part.
Aww,
but it was scary. They intentionally did it. They stayed up and they was like, hey, what time the hurricane's supposed to come? So they like stayed up for like 12 hours and they was like, oh, what time? So like an hour before it was supposed to hit, they all went to bed. So we just like made a big pallet in the safest room in the house, and everybody just slept together, and I just put candles everywhere. Hurricane times can can become very intimate.
Yes.
For a family, you get to talk. There's no devices. You don't have no power, but you have each other. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter. A lot of people, vehicles got damaged because trees fell on top of houses, roofs were snatched up, trees on top of cars, all kind of stuff, you know. But it didn't matter because we had each other.
Yeah.
It didn't matter about the power. We had water, you know, we stick a bathe, you know. So like when we really we weren't tripping. I just took the grill out. I had my cast down skittles that my grandma gave me.
Okay, I know you better.
I even got me like a little war room. It's kind of clearing up now. But I had like this crazy war room from the butter in the cast iron skillet that was on the grill. It like popped up and like hit me in the face.
Oh my God.
And all down here. And I was straight, girl. You know I'm a warrior. But I cooked breakfast. I got up and I got my cast iron skillets and I made breakfast for me, my kids, and my neighbors, you know. Because like I say, they're older. Girl, I got on there and made some cheese eggs and sausages and you know, I just made it happen because I was like, they're old. Somebody has to feed them. When it first happened, we were blocked in. We couldn't leave.
Wow.
We couldn't leave. There were trees in the front entrance and there were trees in the back entrance. So it was an experience. My family was terrified. My grandmother was distraught. I mean, she's 83. So she was like, you need to be home. We don't have all that here. But overall, it was a very memorable experience. And we got a chance to bond even on a deeper level. I will say this, unapologetically, might I add, female lives, the Red Cross lives.
Yo, I think we all know that by now. If you don't know that, then I'm sorry. We're breaking the news to you. Breaking news on Chick Flicks.
They lie. They lie, and they get on lives, and they be like, "Oh, FEMA is helping. Don't worry, we're gonna get you food." Did they replace food that we lost? No, we still ain't got no replacement for that. Did they compensate for the power that we lost for those days? No. Did FEMA come and help anybody clean up? Or they lie. They lie. They say they got these resources that they supposed to be having all this, but they'll tell you, okay, the city got 14 million in FEMA funds, and they don't help you.
That's why the grassroots organizations are the ones that I champion for and the ones that I support with my time, my money, and my energy, because those are the ones that really care and really are showing up, really are giving out food, really are giving out money, giving out clothes, giving out shelter. You know, we're the ones who are really doing that shit. These huge ass fucking organizations shaking hands with the government and stuff. I'm good.
And I never did see Goodwill. Never did see them.
Yeah, the only thing I like the Red Cross for is to get my CPR certification. So
yeah, I did use them for that too. I did. But I will say this. I don't know if you remember Hurricane Laura that hit Texas. Laura hit right before Sally. Yeah. Laura was supposed to come here, but she actually hit Louisiana and Texas, which was basically like 300 and some miles away from me, right? A lot of people still don't have power.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, to be fair, yeah, there are hurricanes. Fun fact, not a fun fact, funky fact, crazy, wild fact that I found out is that the power in a hurricane is greater than the power of like 5 human-made, man-made nuclear bombs. Nuclear bombs. So the power and the force in a hurricane is like 10 times, 5 times, 10 times. I can't remember the exact thing. But the fact that it would be even one time You know what I mean? As strong as a nuclear bomb. That's wild.
Them hurricanes ain't no joke.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
They're-
If
Hurricanes
you're
are
blessed and
too-
lucky enough, huh? No, I was gonna say if you're lucky and you're
I said
blessed enough to not get. Look, it's our delay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening. You said you're blessed and lucky enough.
Yeah, if you're blessed and you're lucky enough that you don't, something tragic doesn't happen to your home or, worse or whatever, then you're blessed and lucky enough. But if you're not, I mean, that hurricane is a beast. And I mean, to be fair, the Red Cross and a lot of these big organizations that shaking hands with the government, when they do show up and they finally do their motherfucking job, they do a good job. But for the most part, are they always keeping their word?
Yeah.
Are they always doing their job? No. And that's a problem. It's too half-assed. And that's my problem with these organizations. It's not that they don't do anything. It's that why are we lying at all? Why is it half-assed at all? Like, do what you say you're going to do or don't say you're going to do it at all. That's all. Just asking for a little bit more honesty and transparency.
My thing is what pisses me off is I was in the middle. I don't know if you remember this or not, but the flood of '94, I was in Albany, Georgia. Okay.
No, I don't remember that.
'94 was one of the most deadliest floods that hit the Georgia area. Okay.
Okay.
I remember seeing caskets floating on streets.
Ooh, wait.
There were entire sides of towns that was destroyed, like the south side of town. Like it actually maneuvered everything around. If you have time to look it up, flood of '94, it was horrific.
Okay.
Now I remember, what is his name? President Clinton came to Albany after everything not really went, because it didn't go away easily. But after everything kind of settled, I remember him coming. He was at one of the local schools. He shook hands. He talked to people. I remember seeing him consuming, other people that were crying. He was like helping. He was compassionate. So it pisses me off when I see tragedies happen and I see presidents go and they just walking around. Like they get pictures of them, they're just walking around down the street. It pisses me off because where's your compassion? I ain't saying you got to do like Clinton and play a saxophone and all this shit, but damn.
Yeah.
Shake hands with the people, let them know, hey, I'm here and I'm going to actually do something to help you. He wasn't there just shaking hands. He was giving, now there was a long time ago, he was giving books of stamps away. You remember when stamps used to be in the book?
Yes.
And you had to rip them out.
I remember going to the store and buying a little bit of something so I can get that change back in cash. What do you mean? Yes, I remember that. Okay, my mom was too proud to get
yes, but he was like
growing up, but I had other family and friends who got it. So, but yes, what?
Right. He was there, like handing out the books of stamps and congregating with the people, fellowshipping, And so, like when I see politicians go to different cities that have had, like nobody needs you to walk through here and look at shit if you ain't finna do nothing to help. Because right now we hurting.
There's a compassion. There's a compassion deficit in society for sure. Like. A lot of lip service. I've been noticing, like, when I meet people online or through an email or whatever, which is normal, first you call up an organization and you connect with them over the phone and you set up your meeting or whatever, right? But when you meet with them IRL, they are not anything to do with what their mission statement says or whatever the nice eloquent words that they said on their email said. You go and you show up and you meet them and they're just like a stale piece of bread. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to all this love and light bullshit? You said it, not me. Right. So why don't you just keep it real? So I'm always super impressed. I'm always super impressed when I meet someone IRL and I'm like, wow, you're exactly the way you said you were. Thank you for being real. Like, I really appreciate genuine people because of the way the world is moving right now.
And it makes you think, are we numb?
Yeah.
I listen to this song not every night, but I don't think I skip more than 2 nights. It's called Be Human by Monica.
Oh, I think I remember that. Be Human.
And I listen to that song and it brings me back at the end of the night. You know what I'm saying? It brings, like, I listen to it while I'm taking a bath or whatever. And it brings me back, no matter how chaotic my day was. It centers me for meditation. It centers me for becoming more grounded. It gets me, back in the headspace to say, hey, you did what you could today, but you dealt with a lot of humans.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have become numb as a nation, as a world. We've become numb. We became so, we can't say accepting, because everyone is not accepting it, but we're so used to death. We're so used to abuse.
Yes.
We're so used to heartache, to the point where we do react. We react and say, hey, this doesn't feel good to me.
Right.
But in a certain sense, we're still numb to it.
Yeah.
Because when it happens, it's more of a conversation piece than an action piece. So it's like we're numb. Humanity is like, people don't really care about whether you're human or not. People they don't care about whether you're a child. They don't care about if you're a woman. They don't care about what race you're. They don't care.
LGBTQ plus, any of that. Yeah, none of that. Yeah, it's this false sense of compassion, false sense of anger, false sense of sadness. It's weird. And I don't think people even know, because most people are not in tune and in touch with themselves and their emotions. So I don't think that people really notice that they're doing that. But if we could all just slow down a little bit and notice when we're kind of like going too gun-ho for an issue or a cause or a situation that we don't really give any stock in our real life about.
And I'm glad you touched on that. That is why I chose to do full spectrum, because there are not a lot of safe hospitals for a trans birthing person to give birth.
Yeah, we're so LGBTQ plus friendly. Love, the rainbow, like we're so accepting in all the states. But again, going back to like racism, but are we looking at all situations for BIPOC people? Are we looking at all situations and struggles for the LGBTQ plus? No, we're not. Like, what about, go ahead, like, talk about it for real in the hospital.
Yeah,
what if someone's trans?
That's why I use the words birthing partner and birthing person instead of saying mother and father, because just a person they're able to birth does not mean they want to be called the mother. You know what I'm saying? They may identify, their pronouns are important. Pronouns are important.
Yeah, and it shouldn't offend anybody, because why are people getting offended by how others want to show up in life? How is what somebody wants to be called or represent doing anything to me?
Right.
Some people argue that it's doing something to their children or the future generations, and that's a whole nother can of worms, because you do have the mission, and sometimes people in the mission do weird stuff like try to infiltrate and co-opt the LGBTQ plus mission, just like the Black Lives Matter mission, and they make it about something else, and they make us look bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have the whole thing with pedophilia, trying to attach its ugly little self to LGBTQ plus.
Oh, girl.
And then now all the people who had a problem with LGBTQ plus in the first place, now all of a sudden they're like, yep, see, and like I said, they're pedophiles. And it's like, no, they don't have anything to do with that. They don't want nothing to do with that.
It's
we don't want anything to do with that. Yeah. Let's go back to doula for trans. What is being a doula for trans look like? Because as a full spectrum doula, you are an advocate, and I love how you said it's hard for you to leave where you're at because you know that there's very little advocacy for what you provide, and you don't want to abandon the people who desperately need someone like you, and that's deep, and that's very noble. And so what does that look like, for trans?
I have not had the experience of having a client that's trans yet. I continue to learn as much as I can because it's being trans can be very sensitive, you know, and wanting to birth while being trans is very sensitive. Everybody won't understand. And it's my position to say, hey, I'm here for you. Okay. I'm here to advocate for you. I'm here to let you know what your rights are, what you do, and what you can do, and what you could possibly, stay positive about. I'm not here to pull you down because I can't promise you that you won't get eyes. I can't promise you that you won't get stopped here and there while going to birthing tours or whatever you're doing, because everybody won't understand your journey. But what I can tell you is, if you're outside of those hospital doors, I'm going to advocate for you as much as I can. I'm going to give you as much knowledge as I can. If I don't know it, and I repeat this constantly, if I don't know it, I got a doula sister or brother that I can find out from. If I can't get it from them, then I'm going to bust my ass to try to get the information you need.
Yeah.
But I need you to know that you're safe. I need you to know that your birthing experience is your own, and you don't have to abide by anybody's rules except for your bodies, you know?
Now, there's an excellent, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's an excellent episode in the series called The L Word. Do you know this series?
I used to watch it a long time ago. I haven't watched it recently at all.
So I'm watching it right now, and it's really good. But there's this one episode that really touches on the need for what you do and how serious it is for the trans community. There is an episode, and I'll put it in after because I gotta look it up again and see exactly which the season and the episode was. But anyway, so this is what it was. So the trans man was going in for a abortion. So he went into the abortion clinic and, signed in, and they were like, well, where is she? We're looking for so-and-so, whatever. And he's like, it's me, I'm the one coming here. And everyone in the waiting room was all looking at him like, what the hell is going on? Like curious, some kind of looking down. Just, how you get taught, like, as if you don't have no home training, like, you don't stare at people who are different, right?
Ignorant.
Yeah, ignorance. And then what was even worse is like this, so it's understandable to some degree for people who are just strangers and not in that world, and it's not their job. They're not the healthcare professional or worker. But the person who was behind, the person who was working at the facility was the one who was acting the worst about it. He was just like, like all stupid and just like making a scene,
Hi, I'm Max Sweeney. I have an appointment.
For your girlfriend or?
No, it's for me. I need an abortion.
What did you say? If this is your idea of a joke, it's not funny. Kelly?
I'm not joking, right? I'm pregnant.
Sir, if you don't leave now, I'm gonna have to call security.
Look, I'm an F to M transsexual, all right? Yeah, that's right. Take a good look. I'm a man and I'm pregnant. It happens. Don't you read the fucking tabloids? Can I have my appointment now, please?
And that's tough, like, to see that experience and then just see him go through, like, the frustration of being with his partner and not knowing where to transmute all that frustration and emotional, like, turmoil and taking it out on his partner and things like that. Like, you're the one who got me pregnant anyway. It's your fault, you stupid faggot, you know, and all this stuff. And I just thought that episode was really beautiful and very honest and very raw, you know, really gave you a window into, like, what it's like to have these delicate, very real, everyday human experiences where your humanity is just, like, sucked out of you because of your choice of sexuality. And that ain't right.
And you know, it all boils down to judgment.
Yeah.
It all boils down to judgment. The reason why I have to make it known that I'm a safe space for trans people is because of judgment.
Yeah.
And it's sad that I have to say, hey, I'm me. I won't judge you.
Right.
I won't judge you. Come. I love on you. Come on.
Yeah.
I help you through this. When did we get to the point where we really had to get jobs to say, I want to protect my people?
Where you even have to say it, because you know if you're having to say it, it's still a problem.
Yes. We have gotten out of the space of love. I personally seen people that just over the top, oh, what are you doing here? I don't like your kind, and then it comes out they were in a relationship with
Oh, homophobia now.
Yeah, like,
Talk
I mean,
about it.
they make it known. I don't deal with nothing like that. That ain't my
too, like, vocal about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like,
no one asked you. What are you
giving? Asked you nothing. Damn, what you doing? You know what I'm saying? I just feel like,
you know the one elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. Since the heavy tipping of the realization of homophobia, xenophobia, racism, and all the phobias or whatever, and all the isms, is we don't talk about heterophobia, which has now become a huge thing. And I think it has to do with universal law that, like, this is the balancing of the scales, right? So it's like you're teetering to one point real hard and extreme, and then another part gets fucked up. So you do this dance until it evens out, because now you have people who are just attacking people just for being straight.
I got one for you. I have seen people attack people that are demisexual. Like, if you say, hey, I don't have to be in a relationship with somebody for sex. Yes, you do. Everybody wants sex. But I just said, I want a psychological, emotional experience with somebody. I don't need what you need.
Right.
This is the difference. And it's like you're attacked for what, no matter what your choice is, it's gonna be a problem.
That's so crazy. Is this people just can't mind their motherfucking biscuits and just, like, get over themselves?
And they call it the land of the free.
Right. It's like, make up your mind. Like, you want free speech, but you want to shut other people down. Right. You know, make up your mind. Like, and yes, of course, free speech doesn't mean that there won't be consequences. You still have to deal with the universal law and the law of the land.
Well, you know, they definitely don't want to deal with that.
You still got to deal with karma.
You really want me to deal with that? That's what you want me to deal with? That's what you...
Are you saying?
Like, it ain't my choice, buddy. Like, it's kind of how it goes, okay?
A vagina is on my face? What? You know what? men are gonna be like, if a vagina is on my face, what are you saying about my face? 'Cause I don't have a vagina. You know, they're gonna be like, wait. But
Same
you know,
thing.
but it is. There's this.
Scrotum.
Yes. No, but did you hear about how a man's penis is essentially a vagina, but it's pulled out?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so listen. I was talking to my homegirl about this the other day, and I watched a video of circumcision. I posted it on the group page, and I was so emotional because I was like, oh my God, I did this to my boys.
Those are tough.
Did you watch it?
No, I would not torture myself that way. This is not my profession. I'm glad I don't have to watch those things.
I was like,
power to you.
If I was like, oh my God, I did this to my boys. Like, oh, I just went in there and I just hugged them because I felt so horrible. And then I thought to myself, think about this. We're taught that it's disgusting to have an uncircumcised penis.
Right. That is unsanitary.
It's nasty and it carries infection and da-da-da-da-da. Well, if God created it, he surely didn't create it for us to get here and then cut it off. That's like saying, okay, I'm going to give you a hand with 5 fingers, you go ahead and cut one of your pinkies off because you really don't need it because it ain't really going to do that much for you.
Yeah, it's just, come on. That part. There's no getting around that.
There's no getting around it.
We came in with exactly what we needed. Yes, there are deformities. Yes, there are things that can go wrong, but those are obvious. Okay. Well, every man gets born with foreskin. It's not like some of them don't. You know,
every woman is born with foreskin.
Yeah, it's not like they
don't. Have a hood that covers our clitoral area. And if you pull the hood back, and which you have no choice but to do, if you pull the hood back, it looks just like an uncircumcised penis.
Exactly. And so, and you know what's really interesting? I just have to throw this out here. I found out about a village, I can't remember where it's at, I'll try to put it in the description, where people are born with 2 sexes, but like almost everyone in this city, I don't know if you heard about it, but what happens is they're all born male or female, and then like around 6 or 7 or something, it starts to change into either male or female.
I've heard
and this is like real deal shit.
I've heard about it, but I never did find out exactly which village it was to.
Yeah, I can look that up. I have like a whole documentary on it saved in my YouTube. So
okay, cool. Yeah, I remember hearing about it, but I never did hear the name of the village because I be with the village shit. You find out so much when you research these villages, like the simple
because they're so untouched and so natural.
Yes, like the simple fact that we're not supposed to be bleeding for 3 and 4 days. The fact that we're not even supposed to have to use pads and tampons and all this other shit.
See, that's some stuff I haven't even got into yet. I brushed on it, and then I had to, take care of other things. But I was just like, excuse me, what?
Yeah. The reason why we bleed as much as we do is because, number one, our diets, we're eating a bunch of shit that we don't need. If you think about it, people in these villages are eating from the land. They're eating basically alkaline foods. You know what I'm saying? They're eating fruits. They're eating vegetables. They're not eating harsh chemicals. So their body isn't having to clean out as much.
Wow. Because that's what it's doing. It's cleaning itself. It's like, oh, clean. But I don't know.
Like, oh my God, you don't put all this shit inside of me. Let me try to live, you know what I'm saying?
What's so cool about how clockwork we are though with it. Like we're so clockwork with it. It's like, oh, time to clean. Like it's so divine. You know what I mean? Like it's just so like on time. I think that's so cool.
And then the cool part about it is, and when I didn't learn this until recently, women are more powerful when we're on our period.
Oh, honey, I know that.
And then
I have a theory about PMS.
they
I
have
to share it today. Okay.
Yeah, they have some tribes that when it's that time of the month, the women go into a house or shed off by themselves because they're able to pray, manifest, and do things
Yes.
at a more powerful time. Now, during those times, guess when those women were having their period?
Full moon.
Full moon.
I love when I get a full moon period. I'm like, what?
Because when you get a full moon period, you are very powerful.
Yes.
You're able to manifest like no other.
Yes.
Your mind is clear because
Yes.
you're syncing with the moon. We're a moon goddess.
All of that.
Yes.
All of that. Whenever I get a full moon period, I'm like, hallelujah, hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, amen. I got a full moon period.
And if you notice, when you do get a full moon period, it's never that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's just everything. The whole experience is different, especially if you're in tune with your body. You're not going to notice this stuff if you're not in tune with your body. It's just going to come and it's going to go.
Yeah.
You know, there is a such thing as super consciousness.
It is.
So,
and the cool thing is, it's so easy to get a grasp on our bodies. Like, people be thinking, oh my God, you know, this is the end of the world. This is what it is.
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to get a hysterectomy. Da 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 da. And I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, you're talking about getting a hysterectomy. If your body wants to get pregnant, you know you can still get pregnant, right? And she was like, what? Nah, that doesn't make sense. Da 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 da. I said, that's what our bodies are built. As long as you got what you need to have in there, your body is going to make it. I said, think about this. Women that have had hysterectomy still get fibroids. If you notice, some of those fibroids that come out have teeth, they have arms. You think about that?
Well, I didn't know that would happen after hysterectomy.
Yes, a woman can still. It's many women that do it. A woman can still get pregnant after she's had a hysterectomy.
Yeah, those are called what are those called? It's like a kind of like a scary name.
Clean vaginas.
No. The cyst that has like teeth and like, you know, appendages and stuff like that. I used to know the name for this, but teratoma. Okay. Yeah, those are wild.
Yeah.
This one lady had a teratoma growing in her, and she went into a delusional schizophrenic state where she thought that she had a baby, and she started regular degular lady, okay, going to work. All of a sudden, she was just like, the baby's coming. I have to get the baby stuff ready for the baby. Just like that. She just went into a hallucinogenic world where she would even like rock something and like do all of a sudden she was just like a different person. Come to find out, she had a teratoma growing in her that had like appendages, teeth, all this. And once they removed it, she went right back to normal. How freaky is that?
I wonder, did she take birth control?
Right.
Because birth control makes the body think that you're pregnant.
And gives you tumors, ulcers, and all that stuff. It just messes you up real good.
It automatically tells your body, hey, you're pregnant. And so every month you're losing a baby, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So then people be wondering like, okay, well, if I get the depot shot, I can go however long and I don't have a period. But if you mess around and don't get that shot, you're going to bleed bloody hell. And then you wonder why your hair is falling out. It's because your iron is low. You're wondering why, because my cousin had major hair loss. You're wondering why you're too skinny or why you're gaining too much weight. You're wondering why you're growing hair under your chin. You're wondering why your pelvis is constantly throbbing. You know what I'm saying? People act like, oh, it's fine, I ain't having no issues, when that's a lie. You feeding yourself poison. Like, have you ever noticed a lot of women that get on Depo get really, really dark?
No.
Yeah.
I
A
just
lot of
remember
women,
I was on Depo-Vera, and I just remember like when I was maybe my early 20s or whatever, and I just remember being like, this is weird that I don't get my period. And I just remember not really liking that because I never had like a heavy, crazy period. I was always athletic. I was the type of chick to have my period for like 2 or 3 days at the most, very light. And so for me, not having a period out of nowhere wasn't something that I was like, yes, I'm so
felt
glad I don't have it.
comfortable.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. And then as I became an adult, I found out that I'm not even supposed to have one anyway. So then I was really confused. But I was like, I definitely don't want to
But you
not
on
have
the
one
right
because I'm
track. Just
forcing it.
having 2 days, you were like freaking amazing at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, a little better than after having children. I had to
Yeah.
have my gallbladder removed right after my daughter. And I think it just, speaking about how like we get rid of things, how Western medicine just gets rid of things and says it's better that way, it's going to make you more healthy. There's different things that we get rid of in our body that doctors say like we don't know why we even have them and why we need it. Like I think it's the appendix or something weird. What is it?
Um,
There's something weird where they're like, we're not even sure what that's for, so if you get rid of
I
it, it
think
doesn't
it's the
matter.
appendix. I
But
think
I think that it's one of those slow burn things where like the people who had their appendix removed in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, they have these weird health problems, and they're like, we don't know why you have that problem. It's like, oh, because you got your appendix removed.
I don't think we're supposed to be taking anything out of the body.
Anything.
And
I
and
heard an NPR special once that said that because they did not go, okay, this is going to be very controversial, but you know, whatever. Like, I think this is a really great thing to talk about, especially for those who deal with cancer. NPR special, there was a guy on there and he was talking about how like the only reason he was told several times that he had cancer and that he needed to have a surgery and go on chemo, and he refused to, and he lived a long ass healthy life because they didn't let him invade. He says the minute that they invade and they start trying to dig in and take stuff out, they irritate the cancer, or they give you chemo, they irritate your whole body, and that's when you die. And I just thought that that was such an interesting story. I love NPR, by the way, but this man is sitting here telling us that like they told him he had cancer and he just like left it alone. And he was like, it never affected me. I didn't feel anything. You know, maybe once in a while I'd feel tired or this or that, but I was able to live a long life and happy life, as happy as
that
life could be.
just you talking about that, I lost a friend last year,
Mm,
and she was one of the sweetest souls. Um, she went to the doctor because she had a knot, and the doctor checked the knot. He was like, "Oh, it looks fine." She was like, "Well, it's just not healing like it needs to."
right.
Um, she went home. I guess they took a sample of it or whatever. She went home. They called her to, "Oh, you're fine. Don't worry. Let us know. We'll send you some cream." Da 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 da. 2 days later, they call her back and say, "Hey, you need to come in. You have cancer." And so she was like, "I'm going to video record all of this." So she was like going live, talking, this, that, and the third. They sent her to a hospital that was far away from home. And she was recording everything. She was up, she was talking. She said, "I don't feel anything." She was like, "I feel fine." She was like, "They keep saying I have cancer. I'm trying to figure out where. Like, I don't feel any kind of way." And they started her treatment, I want to say on a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. And by that Wednesday, she was gone. So I took her death really hard to the point where I went home to Georgia with the intent to go to her memorial service. And I couldn't even go. I couldn't even go. Like, it was so painful. Um to hear her say, I'm fine, I'm just gonna record everything, it's cool, you know, da 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 da. And like that, she was gone. And she was like one of the sweetest souls. And I was just like, it's always the sweetest people. But I also, you know, I spend a lot of time with the elderly. I always have. I used to go to nursing homes and chill with the elderly and sing to them and all different stuff.
Aw.
Well, it's a guy that I met here. He's 78, I want to say. Mr. Richard, he's really, really cool. Low key cat. He's had cancer for 23 years. And he recently told me within the last 6 months that he's tired, but he didn't take chemo.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just smoke weed. Like he's, oh, well, of course he didn't call it weed. He was like, I just smoke reefer, you know?
Little self.
He's like, I just smoke my joints. And he said he eventually started making the oils with the cheesecloth and all of that.
Yeah.
And he said that's how he survived all these years. Now,
Yeah.
mind you, this man had throat and colon cancer for over 20-something years. He's had, I think he said he had 2 strokes. He had 1 stroke after the pandemic.
And that might be from stress related. That may not have anything to do with the cancer. And so,
Well, it
at his
definitely was
age,
related because every few years he has to change doctors because he won't take chemo.
wow. So that's a whole nother. See, the system is just like too much. It's too
They want you to
aggressive,
do what they
invasive.
want you to do. You know,
Yeah.
like that's just it. Like either you're gonna do what I want you to do, or you're gonna find somebody else to take care of you.
Because you clearly don't really care about me, though. Like, you can't be my PCP unless I get this expensive treatment so that you can lay your pockets.
I know
Line your
I've
pockets.
taken him to like maybe 2 different doctors within the past 2 years. And both have released him.
Wow.
Both have. Knowing how old he is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for an older patient to get in with any doctor.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It could be a
Yeah.
orthodontist for that matter. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
most doctors aren't trying to take a patient that's that old and definitely that has had that many issues. But you know, they get to a point where they say, look, you either gonna do what I tell you to do,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not going to practice.
Right. That's so sad.
It is sad, and it's very selfish.
Yes. That's the problem. And all that energy is real and tangible and goes into further causing turmoil and disease in the person. So let me tell you about my PMS theory real quick. So my theory about PMS is that the reason why women have PMS is because we were meant to help clear out negativity, clear out dysfunction, clear out chaos, clear out bullshit with our word, with our breath of fire, with our throat chakra. And so I really have this theory that, you know how like when women, they get their PMS and they're called bitchy? Mm-hmm. And they say, well, maybe a week before you'll notice that you're more agitated and you want to flip out about things that like you normally wouldn't, or you normally wouldn't be a big deal. But what I have to say is that if we didn't live in an oppressive, suppressive society where we have to follow the status quo and sit pretty or else be ostracized or be burned at the stake, okay, then we would normally speak up throughout the months, days, weeks, years, or whatever. But what happens is when we start to have our period, it is more, it's almost like a calling or like a ritual, like timing for like us to be like, and by the way, this needs to end and this needs to stop and no more of this, and like a clearing of the path. Like, so when a woman is like PMSing and she's bitching, and this is how I came to this conclusion, because the things that the woman is like becoming furious about are things that are important. They're never petty. Now, yes, maybe a woman will say, like, flip out because you didn't get her the right ice cream or the right Snickers, or you put your feet here and not there, and it seems petty. But I think that there's a deeper underlying issue.
It is.
Yes. So,
because how long has she been putting up with you putting your foot there and knowing that she don't like that? And
right. It's a problem. It's a problem of like dishonor and unattentiveness, disrespect towards the divine feminine, towards the feminine. And I feel like once a month, that's a time where, especially women who aren't typically vocal, where that pressure pot builds up, and it's like, you must speak your truth. If you don't, it's almost like out of control. Like you don't have no control of it. It's like you're possessed by whatever energy is in the atmosphere, the ether, the whatever in your being that connects at that moment in that time, that, whatever your hormones or like your auric field is doing in that time and space, and whatever it's connecting to is causing you to almost feel like out of your own control, right? Because if you had your wits about you or your senses about you, you wouldn't do that. You would sit pretty and behave and not complain about anything.
That makes sense.
And I feel like it's a I think it's a patriarchal thing, like dubbing it as bad, and you need help and give the woman medicine. I mean, we used to have our gynecologist speaking to being perverted about women. Our gynecologist used to like masturbate us for hysteria during our period. They would say, when we have PMS, it's because we're hysterical, so you need to go see the doctor, and they would have sex with us. Yes. They said, because it's like even the saying, like, oh, you just need to get fucked real good, and then you'll chill out, then you'll stop acting crazy.
And you know how I am with words, hysteria,
yeah,
hysterectomy.
Yeah.
Because once you take those organs out of the body, the reproductive system, it's going to make her hysterical.
Yeah, it's just interesting to consider. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a theory. It's neither truth or fact or anything like that, but it's just something to consider.
But
but there are some facts sprinkled in there, like the hysteria and doctors, making us have orgasms to make us calm down and not be hysterical. So, which basically is manipulation.
Calm down.
Through manipulation, through sexual manipulation.
But that's what I'm saying, just those words, making you calm down. It's literally the same word.
Yeah. Coming.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting. It's all just very interesting. Oh my God. I love you.
I love you.
To the moon and back.
Love you so much.
Oh.
We always
I'll see you when I see you.
I know, right? Us and our schedules.
But you keep on keeping on, and I'll keep on staying in touch, and we will stay friends. And thank you so much for being on the show.
It's always a beautiful experience. Always. Talk to you soon, love.
Bye.
Who am I and what are we still?
People be worried about people triggering them. I triggered myself. You know what I'm saying?
Said I'm sorry. Who are you and what exactly are you trying to prove? Answers hidden inside your psyche. You gotta ask yourself, who are you and what are you doing it all for? Then ask yourself, what is our purpose? You gotta ask yourself, what wakes you up in the morning when you're tired? What made you happy when you were young and innocent? All I want is love unconditionally. But but it's nowhere to be found every time you go away. And all I wanna know is what is this truth they teach when all we were meant to be, all we were meant to be is humans being